Every year, I choose one word that serves as a theme for the year. Now, it's not a replacement to goals, but rather it's a complement to them. This past year in 2019, I chose the word redeem. Redeem basically means to buy back or exchange. And I wanted to focus on two key areas when it comes to redeeming: past experiences and present realities. Now, in case you missed that session at the beginning of this year where I explained a little bit more in depth on my word for 2019, we've included a link in our session outline, so make sure you check that out. Now, what I want to do over the next two sessions is I want to do some self-reflecting. I want to do a recap and see how I did when it comes to redeeming those past experiences and present realities. So these sessions, they're going to be a little bit like a video journal, and you get to be a fly on the wall as I verbally process how I did. So let's start with past experiences. I wanted to redeem past experiences or exchange them for perspective. Here's what I mean by that. What I want to be able to do is that I wanted to reflect on those situations and circumstances that were happening throughout the year. I wanted to learn from them, but I didn't want to stop there. I wanted to take it a step further, and I wanted to share what I'm learning with other people so that I could help them and encourage them. Now, as I look at the reflecting and learning piece, I give myself an A-. And I know that seems a little bit high, but let me explain why. There are two things that I put in my schedule so that I could be intentional with reflecting and learning. The first one is that I journal every single morning. And one of the questions I have to answer is, what did you learn, or what lessons did you learn from yesterday? This forces me to think through those situations, those circumstances, those events, especially the mistakes and failures that I've made. What am I learning? What are some of those key lessons that I can gain from those experiences? Now, the second thing that I put in my schedule is what David Allen calls in his book, Getting Things Done, a weekly review. Basically, at the end of the week, I typically do this on Sunday evenings, I take a look back at my week. I review it. I look to see what stuff or projects I accomplished. And then I create a plan for the next week. This has been vital in helping me be consistent with some of those key priority areas, like date nights with my wife. We try to have a date night once a week, or keeping up with my reading plan and those goals, which I'm going to share a lot more about in January. And then finally, the weekly review, it helps me stay focused on those most important projects that are going to have the biggest impact on my business. Now, coupled with the weekly review, I use Michael Hyatt's Full Focus Journal, and I cannot recommend this resource highly enough. It will help you increase your productivity, and it's great to couple with the weekly review. If you want to check out that Full Focus Journal, we've included a link in our session outline. Now, those two habits, journaling and the weekly review, they've helped me be more productive, but more importantly, they've helped me to be intentional when it comes to reflecting and learning. Now, that third piece to redeeming my past experiences, the piece of then sharing what I'm learning, I give myself a C- at best. Now, before I dive into that grade, let me explain a little bit about how I try to live my life. I try to live my life, but by what I call the learn, apply, share principle. Basically, I want to be a lifelong learner. I want to apply what I'm learning, and then I want to share it. Here's why that's a big deal. If we don't apply what we're learning and we skip to sharing, or at least we're not in the process of implementing what we're learning and we just share it, guess what? That's being a hypocrite, right? So for me, the learning piece, I have no problem with. That's actually a strength of mine. The applying piece, I might struggle a little bit here and there, but the sharing piece, man, I have the most difficult time with that. Here's why. I struggle with vulnerability. Maybe you do too. I know there's a lot of people that struggle with it. As a result, I keep people at a distance. That's right. I only let them so far in. Now, I'm not asking us to air out our dirty laundry just for anyone, because I think there has to be a certain level of trust when it comes to being vulnerable. But here's what I'm learning. The most powerful lessons that we can share are when we share out of vulnerability, our weakness, when we share out of the mistakes and failures that we've made and what we've learned from them. As Carey Nieuwhof says, people admire your strengths, but they identify with your weaknesses. Man, they connect with them. And those lessons, they're powerful. So I want to work on that. That's something that I want to focus a little bit more on for 2020. So here's today's game plan. I know because it's the end of the year, we naturally reflect. And I want to encourage you in the busyness of the holidays and the start of the new year, take some time to reflect on this past year. What are maybe one or two key lessons or themes that you see? And then, who needs to hear it? Who can you help or encourage by sharing what you're learning? Let me leave you with our tweetable lesson. The past is a treasure chest filled with learning opportunities for the present and the future, but only if we look inside.